Dixie where the eagles fly, land of the brave where the bullets don't lie. We fought for our freedom with guns by our side. Red, white, and blue, our southern pride. Raise the flag high, let freedom ring from the rolling mountains to the flatlands. We sing, no one can take our rights. Our Second Amendment will defend our land. With every bullet we stand. We were born in the USA, land of the free. With guns in our hands, we'll forever be. Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days.
Alrighty, I just found out that the sound isn't on. There we go. That should be a little bit better. Sorry about that. Nothing but the highest production quality around here. Oh well, one day I'll get big enough to have a producer. But, alrighty, back to where we started. We're going to be digging into a little bit more of the information coming out about the event in Butler, PA. I'm sure you know the event I'm talking about. Little by little, information is trickling out. I've been following it as much as I can. My number one source, I have to admit, is Mr. Bongino, Dan Bongino. The guy did 14 years in the Secret Service, and he's got a lot of reach outs in the background coming out to him. I've watched the congressional hearings. I can honestly say, after Kim Cheadle, you kind of figured she wasn't going to be there long, and she kind of must have known it because, let's face it, it happened on a Saturday. 9 days later, she hadn't even gone to the site of it, so we can show her apathy. Mr. Ron Rowe, who was her second in command, has now stepped up and is the acting director. Maybe if he acts like a director, things will be better, but not sure. He also was grilled by Congress, and I feel duly grilled. The bottom line is when you're not answering their questions, or, well, we're looking into all the possibilities. And some of the questions that were asked in these hearings were very simple. Number one, the Donald Trump detail. What requests for additional resources have been put in that you haven't approved? They really couldn't tell much of anything. Well, we'll have to look at that. And he said, well, your spokesperson put out that it was categorically false. Is it false or is it true? Well, I'm not really sure. Well, did you sign off on this press release? Well, we'll have to look into that. Okay. And they said, did you or did you not? It's a yes, no question. Did you sign off on the press release? I may have, I'm not sure. You may have, you're not sure. When Senator Josh Hawley questioned him, did a really good job. And he said, I want to know who did or did not deny. I want specific people. Well, we don't handle it that way. We look into all the options and the resources and the technical and the tactical. And okay, so did someone, yes or no, refuse resources to the Trump campaign, yay or nay? He really couldn't answer that. So that's, folks, I got news. If you're in the Secret Service right now, reach out to Dan. He's been on the job. He understands the drill. He definitely knows the assignment. The man's worked on multiple presidential details. And some of the stuff he's bringing up is, there was no aerial surveillance plan. It now turns out that, well, the Secret Service had a drone there, but they had technical issues getting theirs to work for some connectivity issue, quote unquote. The little 20-year-old dweeb could get his drone up. So there's a problem. We're going to go, let's see what else we have. The Secret Service, and this was one of the first ones that came out, and I'm just going to play this clip because we're going to dig into it a little bit further from this.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
Not until after the shooting.
And by then?
It was too late.
Okay. There was a scheduled briefing for 0900 that morning. The Secret Service didn't get there in time, number one. Number two, the counter sniper teams that were assigned from the Secret Service to that event on Saturday were only notified of it Thursday night. They basically, had any chance to pre-plan. By the time they were able to get their act together, get their stuff from Washington, and get to, they could have made it. I mean, they could have driven overnight Thursday, done the site walkthrough on Friday. They didn't even show up in time for the morning briefing on Saturday. So, when we're dispatching teams, now, again, this rally was announced June 3rd, publicly. July 3rd. It was announced July 3rd, publicly. So if it comes out as announced July 3rd, guess what? We have a problem. We have a big problem. But, oh well. Yeah, okay, I'm seeing it pop up in the chat now. How long am I going to be muted for? I'm not sure. I try not to get muted as much as I can avoid it. And, Mel says, he could have answered, but he wouldn't. Exactly. And you're watching this shifty routine the whole time. And the senators and the people in Congress have about had it. Marsha Blackburn dressed them down. We all saw the clips of Nancy Mace telling, the director, Kim Cheadle, oh, that's bullshit. Folks, this deputy director, who is now the acting new director after Kim packed her office, quite frankly, if he does not become very forthcoming with everything in the next couple days, I think he needs to pack his office too. At some point, and it's like they said, the emails will come out. The yes or no, or we requested this and never heard back, it's going to come out. And it is going to be, hopefully, enough of a house cleaning. And I'm not wishing for anyone to really lose their job unless they're not doing their job. We cannot have this at the simplest level. And I'm going to state this again, as I stated in the stream I did last time about it on Saturday night. I am not only upset about this, or I'm not just upset about this because I'm pro-Trump. No. The Secret Service is charged with protecting these individuals. Some of the individuals they're charged of protecting would be Bill and Hillary Clinton, Barack and Michelle Obama, Bush, Obama's kids. They're in charge of protecting all those people. And if any one of them had a sniper take a shot and wing them or even miss them, guess what? A bullet flying that close to a Secret Service protectee is an epic fail. I don't care whether it went right past his ear over here or whether it was right here or whether it clipped his ear, which we know it did. The bottom line is the Secret Service epically failed. Okay, what do we see popping up here in the chat? Oh, Mel says, I see only two possibilities at this point. They either knew the guy was going to be there and allowed it to happen or caused it to happen, or they were so incredibly negligent that they just didn't give a damn. Yeah, right now, barring something else, it is really, really looking like total negligence, total complacency. They've been doing this stuff so long and they're so brilliant, and they just did not bring their A game. And so as a result of that, we're dealing with what we're dealing with. Let's see what we got. Apocryphal World Records. Hello, friends. Good evening, sir. Welcome, or ma'am. I don't mean to assume your gender around here. We're not going to be doing that at all. But I think it's honestly complacency to the 10th power. We're at a moment of, when they don't get there in time to do the site walkthrough, when they're getting assigned less than like 30 hours in advance of the event. This was half-assed all the way through. The drone connectivity issue, for some reason they couldn't get on, the internet or couldn't get a signal or couldn't do something to launch their drone. Now, I know there's, plenty of things in there where we have to deal with launching drones. I fly drones. I've got my FAA drone stuff. Yeah, there's also backup plans. If they needed connectivity and they didn't have it, maybe one of the guys could have, hotspotted his phone or, go up the road to T-Mobile and get, then again, that would have been one of those things you found on a walkthrough if you did it. This is, it's the football equivalent of the star quarterback thinks he's too good to go through the walkthrough on Sunday morning or on Saturday afternoon, and he decides he's going to go lay in the hot tub instead, and then he goes out and he gets his clock cleaned on the field all day. Well, gee, I wonder how that happened. We do have some video clips, and again, that one of the Pennsylvania SWAT team, because you notice how fast it came out that, Butler, PA was supposed to cover that. Well, okay, maybe they were, maybe they weren't. No one was there for the walkthrough. When were they told they were supposed to cover that? Doesn't quite fit. Number one. Number two, I'm going to say this. From where they were in the window, they were not able to very well cover the far end of the roof. Again, if you think of a window, it's going to limit your perception. You're going to be good through here. Short of coming out the window and looking, you're not going to be able to see down to the other end of the roof. It's going to give you a tunnel vision situation. The Secret Service counter snipers on the other ridge line, you know what? Maybe they shouldn't have been there. Maybe there was a better position, like a water tower or something. Shit, what would they have found in a walkthrough? And that's all the stuff that we're just seeing. But then again, they do so many of these. They do so many events. It's going into campaign season. They're all dreading it. They know they're going to get their butts run off all around the country, covering all these presidential details for the next, 3 or 4 months. Yeah, imagine that. So they kind of half-assed it and sort of went through the, best they could and la-di-da'd it. And, we saw how well that worked out. Oh, okay. Now, I guess now I'm not assuming your gender. We'll just go ahead and throw that up there. There you go. Welcome into the clubhouse, sir. Welcome to the Gun Club. Don't know if you're new here, but we go over all sorts of stuff on firearms related content and everything else. And like I said, we're sort of doing the latest update on the Trump, and then we're going to get into the court decision out of New Jersey on their assault weapons ban, because that kind of got taken care of. And then we've got some nice stories of good guys and gals doing their best to protect themselves with firearms and their communities. Right. It's their job. I totally agree. It's their job. And like I said, that's the star quarterback who thinks he's too good to do run through. And boy, did he get his clock cleaned. We're lucky we did not lose more people that day. Now, we lost Corey Comparator, and that's tragic. And, to the people who were wounded, that's tragic. Fortunately, Donald Trump is still alive by divine providence, the grace of God. I don't know. Take whatever theory you want. We could have easily, lost Trump that day. And if that happens, what goes on in our world and our country? All sorts of bad things, in my opinion, but that's just me. And again, it's not just a Trump thing. And that's one thing I will say, with the exception of very, very few on the left, the vast majority of reps and senators have all pretty much been universally condemning the Secret Service. A couple of the reps have tried to turn it into gun control of how does a 20-year-old get an AR-15? Sir, with all due respect, a 20-year-old can sign up to go serve his country and get it like an M4. So I don't want to hear it. We're at a point that, this kid went out and did this. Now, how he did it, the next question comes into, did he have help? Well, he apparently was doing lots of science experiments, according to his parents, and getting various chemicals shipped in on a regular basis. They didn't think anything of it because he was curious about science. He did graduate high school, and to my knowledge, I think he was working as a dietary aide in a nursing home or rest home facility. So yeah, dietary aide in a nursing or rest home facility. And yeah, we'll see how that plays out. All righty, Mary, I see what you're saying. They knew and allowed it to happen. Again, until we can find really some good evidence to point that way. When I was listening to the whole discussion of local law enforcement talking about how they were never there, they didn't come to the briefing, they didn't do that, they didn't do that, and it definitely made me wonder. Minnie, my most favorite mouse. Did I see the video that you sent me? Yeah, I saw the video, trust me. And we'll get into that video a little bit, and you can see where he was and where he popped up. In fact, I'll go ahead and I'll play the video now. We can take a look at what his position was and how it went. Let's see here. Because I did upload that video and I saw a couple of really interesting parts to it. Here's the video. So there he is up on the roof line, and you can see him pop up with the red circle is there. He runs across the roof line and, then pops up again. Now it's interesting because we're looking at from about 6 to 7 o'clock. If President Trump's directly back is 6 o'clock, we're about 6 or 7 o'clock to Trump, looking across the clock face to the 1 or 2 o'clock area. I'll run it again. You can see here. So yeah, that's the way he popped up on the roof. Now, I'm going to go to a different clip or a different look here because this is the look back from the other side where the Secret Service snipers were or would have been. Let me see here. We loaded that clip up. Yeah. Here is the sniper's view zoomed in from where the counter sniper team was. Let's see here. They would have a little bit of a view of him running across, not a really good one. And again, this is zoomed in, so their actual naked eye view would look something more like this. Now, maybe they see him, maybe they don't. Again, I haven't seen enough to say that he's definitely in on it or someone's definitely doing something on the other side of that coin. I haven't really seen enough to say that, oh no, there's no way they could have had an inside job. That's all I think going to remain to be seen. But again, I go with that whole, Occam's razor, whatever assessment we come up with or whatever possibility we come up with, we start with the one that makes the least amount of assumptions. The thought is also these Secret Service counter snipers were not the same ones out of the Pittsburgh field office. They came from DC. Then you've got the post senders who came from either Pittsburgh or HSI. Then you've got the close quarter detail that travels with the president. So we have sort of a very unique group in there. When you've got that many different people who don't all necessarily run in the same circles, for them to build something that deep of a conspiracy or come up with something that involved that no one is going to see it, that the people behind him, the Secret Service agents behind him, were they bringing their A game or were they just, oh man, I wish he'd shut up. He runs on forever so we can get out of here, and not doing their job? With the guys up on the roof paying how much attention? It's easy for us to say, well, look, there he is. Why didn't someone do something? Because right now we all know to watch that roof line, and we all know that that little guy running across has a circle on him. But on that day, that might be the fifth, sixth detail they've worked this week. They obviously didn't make it there that morning, so that they travel up Friday night, get there that morning, get there late. Okay, let's get set up. Let's do one more time. And what happens? Again, nobody told them that was going to be the one where it happened. And the interesting thing is, and Dan has said this, and a couple of others have come out and said this from various entities, they think it's going to happen again. And it may not be Trump this time. They think there's going to be another attempt made because right now, the Secret Service is short personnel, stretched to the max, partly because of all the protectees they have. Because right now you've got the Joe Biden detail, the Jill Biden detail, you've got Kamala doing events, plus she's the vice president. Now you've got J.D. Vance, who's got Secret Service coverage, Trump, who's got Secret Service coverage, and Joe finally got his butt together, or someone did, and gave Kennedy coverage. And again, in the idea of, is it complacency or complicity? They didn't even think Kennedy needed coverage. Now, I don't know. Last time I checked, I thought the name Kennedy, where do I know that name from? But yet we didn't think he would need Secret Service coverage. We just, figure that, wouldn't need it. No, that's complacency. Let's see. I agree with Mary. I see what you're saying about negligence or incompetence. Intentional, very, very well could be. And like you said here, it could be coordinated. And if it is, alrighty, so that's what I have here. How is this different from any other campaign season? Okay. The biggest part of it is right now that Joe has got his normal protection, but he's not running. So we go into the last previous election cycle. Trump and Pence were president and vice president. They were running. And then you had Joe and Kamala. We didn't have Kennedy, and we didn't have a lot of the other ancillary. We have the two who are running, plus we've got Kennedy, and then we've still got the presidential detail at 1600 Pennsylvania. So they're getting stretched. The other thing is, everything we've heard is culture-wise. Well, we'll just say this. From what Dan is hearing, culture-wise, the Secret Service is having a hell of a time gaining and maintaining and recruiting right now. Apparently, something happened where they started sorting people out, and anybody who had the wrong think or had bad posts on Twitter or anything else got bounced out. And if that's true, how well would that decimate an agency? Let's face it, this is the same agency that couldn't figure out how the bag of Coke got in the White House. Not like they would have anything. Next question was, they asked them, did the Secret Service have any pooches there, like IED dogs, working the parking lots? No. Next question, and this is a big one, when they drew up the whole plan, they said, well, the AGR building, which is where he shot from, was outside the perimeter, but it makes no sense to have it outside the perimeter. But if you made the perimeter bigger, you'd require a lot more Secret Service personnel. So did we make the perimeter small so we don't have to get that many people down on a Saturday? And I know what you're saying, Mel, as far as you always have former and family members. Yes. But this year, again, they are stretched more so than they have been in previous years. And again, especially as, we have a third candidate, we have, president, and then we've got 2 or 3 running, and, additional vice presidents and everything else. So, they're definitely stretched, and they're going to be for the next, 3 to 4 months at least. Dan was saying today that, just to get through the background check takes close to 9 to 12 months, and then start the training to get to the point that somebody could actually be assigned regular to a presidential campaign detail. He said if they were ready to apply today, it would probably be the better part of 2 years. And again, they've lost a lot of people. How many people quit? It's, we see it all the time now. We look at the military. Recruiting is what? Way down. We see people getting their time and getting out. We see people not re-upping. Well, guess what? The more you see all of that, what's our staffing in the military? Is it where it needs to be? I don't know. I don't deal with that staffing. But again, I've heard from, friends on the backside that things are just not going the way they were 4 years ago. And the generation coming up right now, half of them have been taught in school to hate the country. Speaking of that, I heard an interesting comment the other day. Now, I have personally never been to a Democrat rally of any kind. Never felt that I wanted to go there, and, never worked one, never done anything with that. I've gone to a couple of different Republican, more conservative-leaning rallies or conservative events. But from the Democrat rallies I've watched on TV and the Joe Biden or Kamala Harris rallies I've seen on TV, or even back to Barack Obama, when was the last time you saw them up on stage chanting like this and the crowd screaming USA, USA, USA? Yeah, kind of interesting thought process there. Just throw that out there. But no briefing. People finding out 30 hours before that they were tasked to do this. Having to race there from DC at the last minute. Couldn't get their own drone up. Don't know why. They're trying to figure out why their drone wouldn't fly. And they're like, and I think it was Tom Cornyn ripped him, and he said, well, the kid, maybe you should ask him for help. Maybe we need to talk to him. Very much an interesting adventure. Why was no one there earlier that day? And that's another question that came up. Why was no one there earlier that day? Now, it's interesting to note the kid was seen lurking around the AGR building. One of the ESU SWAT guys was getting off duty at 4 o'clock or 4:19, and he was getting ready to leave. He walked out to his car, and he saw someone had a bike out there, had a backpack and everything else, and he told the guys inside via text message, because he wouldn't have had a radio, that the kid had seen him walk out of the building, so he knows that you're up in there. Maybe, again, lack of coordination, lack of deconfliction, lack of setting up areas of responsibility. I mean, again, we set up a lot of times, you talk about, fields of fire. If I am covering from this point, I can get a field of fire from this point out to that point. That's where I can cover. That's what I can see. If there's a tree in the way, I can't see past that tree. Those guys up on the roof shouldn't have been responsible for anything past that far. The guys in the window should have been on the roof. We know that now. But nobody was there. There was no pre-briefing. Remember, Kimberly Cheadle either couldn't or wouldn't actually tell them how many Secret Service versus Butler or local. I won't say just Butler, because it's Butler, Beaver County, all these. Couldn't tell you how many Secret Service, how many local were on scene. Ron Rowe couldn't come up with a really solid number either. They asked, what about radio frequencies? Did anyone have any way of talking back and forth? Again, he couldn't answer the question, or wouldn't answer the question. Now, he had been appointed or moved up like 2-3 days before, but he was second in command. My question is, and I'm going to throw this out, and y'all answer in the chat. Let me know what you think. If you were in the top 5 of the Secret Service in the executive protection side, I'm not talking the counterfeiting, financial crimes, or anything else, the investigative division, but in the dignitary or executive protection side, and that happened, how many of y'all would be having like either a meeting or a Zoom call or a get together or a sit down or a powwow or a come to Jesus on high with your staff within 24 hours of that event and putting all this information together? To me, as having this amazingly epic fail, if I was anywhere in that chain of command, I would be like, okay, even if we can't get everyone physically in the same room, what time can we get everyone on the Zoom call? I need statements from everybody in my email in the next 24 hours. I need this. I need this. We need to put all this together. It would be a nonstop, coffee by the pot, Mountain Dew by the gallon, until we had a whole analysis of it. And they're saying, well, it's up to the FBI to investigate what happened, and they're going to look into it. You're in charge. If you can't handle it, it's like someone said, they told Kimberly Cheadle, go back to guarding Cheetos in South America. Gotta say, it was kind of deserved. And again, we'll see what goes on. And Mel, of course, says here, when you ask why they couldn't get their drone up, needed Viagra. Quite possibly. I will say this. Actually, you might have just explained something there. Mel, you may have made an excellent point. Perhaps their lack of connectivity, they couldn't pull up their OnlyFans account, and so, couldn't do anything, huh? They were just all totally useless. They couldn't get on the hub and try to get a spicy video or something to motivate them to do a little something that day. I mean, I don't know. All righty. Let's see. What else do we have tonight? We're going to get into a little bit of a talk about the wonderful adventure that is the New Jersey assault weapons ban. Now, if you're not familiar, way back around 1990, the beautiful state of New Jersey came up to ban big, bad, scary assault weapons. And we know how awful those are. And so, it is what it is. But, well, it came out this week. Pull this up for you. Let's see. All righty. In the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs versus Matthew Platkin in his official capacity as AG of New Jersey, Patrick Callahan is official superintendent of the New Jersey State Police, Ryan McNamee is capacity as chief of police of Chester PD, and Joseph Madden in his official capacity comes up with all these wonderful things. And I will cut to the chase for you because it is a 70-page document, and we're not going to, a 69-page document, we're not going to read the whole thing. I will just go ahead and give you this much as here, number 69. The last conclusion is the one I really like by Judge Sheridan. The AR-15 provision of the assault firearms law is unconstitutional under both Bruin and Heller as to the Colt AR-15 for use of self-defense within the home. In contrast, the large capacity magazine amendment is still considered constitutional under these same decisions. The Third Circuit's decision on whether the large capacity mag constitutes an unconstitutional taking and its finding does not, and it remains valid since Bruin did not disrupt this holding. So basically, they've changed and overturned their previous verdict because now they don't have the large capacity mag ban anymore. Now, or they don't have the AR-15 ban anymore. They still have the large capacity mag ban. So there we go. There is that. Congratulations, New Jersey. I know you worked really hard to get that. All righty. And while we have a moment, I'm going to throw a sponsor up real quick. We have US Comics. Now, if you're looking to help the next generation connect and understand the founding values that led to the American greatness, American Part 1 by US Comics is a 360-page graphic novel by top comic artists explaining America's origin story. It begins with the landing of the English separatists at Plymouth Rock. The stunning novel covers the ideal of a city on a hill, the scientific and spiritual awakening in colonial America, as well as the iconic moments such as the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party, Paul Revere's famous ride, the early battles of Lexington and Concord, the Declaration of Independence, as well as the many battles and struggles eventually leading up to the American triumph over the British at Yorktown. This patriotic and visually stunning graphic novel is guaranteed to capture the imagination of the next generation. Americans in your life, you can find America Part 1, the Constitution, and other great products at uscomics.com. Now, folks, to me, this is one of those things that it makes sense. We know kids these days aren't really going to get into the old style history books like we had when I was in school. We've got to be engaging. We've got to get them motivated. Well, guess what? This is a way of doing it. We're going to take the same material. We're going to get the same stuff in. You know, it's kind of like if you have dogs at home, every now and then, in order to get them to take their medicine, you got to put a pill and wrap it in cheese or peanut butter or something. Well, guess what? This is the same way we're going to feed history to the kids. Because, like I said before, we have a generation of kids who doesn't get it, doesn't understand it, and doesn't want to support this country. They don't want to sign up for a military that they think is awful, for our country they think is awful. But US Comics, they've got these. It looks like a really cool idea. Again, I can flip through. I look at a bunch of ad options, and I try to point out the ones that make sense to me or look like they'll be interesting for y'all. So, hey, check them out if you're interested. Enjoy it. You know, to me, like I said, it's one of those things that, yeah, we can do a little bit of good with it. Maybe help get some people a little bit more historical knowledge, because we all do know they need it. All righty. Speaking of historical knowledge, folks, if you haven't heard, we do have another sort of I don't want to say a sister channel, but a brother channel or a cousin channel or a something or other channel over on the other side of the world. It's called Real Hard Truths. It's on Rumble. It is exclusively to Rumble. And over there, we discuss more news and political commentary. We've done a couple of deep dives on the election. We got to do a deep dive on Kamala last night and had a little fun over there. So if you're interested in learning more about that, hey, check it out because, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, this is the woman who is trying to run to be our next president of the United States of America. At least we should know what she stands for. Well, whatever. Yeah. Well, I think we know what she stands for. Yep. Yeah, I couldn't resist throwing a little bit of Kamala shade out tonight. I threw a lot of it out last night. And while I'm throwing shade, we have one more thing. I want to give a quick shout out to Michael Cargill of Cargill v. Garland. Check out his thoughts on firearms and his thoughts on gun control.
Did you know a gun will not fire unless you pull the trigger? We conducted an in-house study with 3 different firearms to prove this claim. And here are the results. Fire! 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 So having seen the results of our study, we have a simple question. And you can answer in the comment section down below. A gun will not fire unless A, it decides to do so using free will, or B, a human pulls the trigger. As always, more guns equals less crime. Right there and buy yourself a gun.
Yeah, you gotta love that. I thought that was kind of cute. He says it all right there. Guns are not bad. Guns do not do these things on their own. It takes, people to do it. Speaking of people, let's talk about some people here. This one's going to be kind of interesting. We've got a few good guys and girls with guns. Our first one comes out of Oceanside, California. Now, I'm sure if you know Oceanside, California, you figure, okay, super liberal. Someone breaks into the house. What are they going to do? Hit them with a pink feathered boa or, throw a purple dildo at them? I don't know. But anyway, that 7:30 in the evening, an intruder attempted to break into a house through a sliding glass door that came in from the back deck into the bedroom. There was a female in the bedroom who screamed for help, confronted the attacker. The male occupant confronted the intruder. The intruder hit him in the face with a rock and was also armed with a large stick, at which point the homeowner, the male, was able to access his legal firearm, fired 3 rounds, and the intruder is, not going to be a problem to anyone else anymore. Okay, fair enough. We'll go with that. Then they said, come back, and again, watching this, there were also 2 other houses in the area that had the back doors broken into, similar subdivision apparently, a similar area, sliding glass doors on the back. They were both smashed and possibly entered as well. Another person said that they saw this gentleman. He appeared to be a transient and was out breaking pickets off a picket fence in the street. They had called law enforcement over 30 minutes ago. So someone is out vandalizing something, law enforcement's called, and meanwhile, this guy's entered 3 houses and done all this. Now, to have the true California experience, one of the people they entered said, our neighborhood just doesn't seem to be safe anymore. I think I'm going to go to Costco and buy a camera system. Yeah, because that's what you can do to defend yourself in California, folks. Go to Costco and buy a camera system. Yeah. I hope they don't have too much of a waiting period for that camera system. But yeah. Just be glad you live in a red state if you do, because honestly, you see something like this and it's like, yeah, definitely problematic. Okay, so you can chat come through. Yeah, I agree on this one. Maybe they never tried to launch the drone. If they're lying about that, that's going to be really interesting because those drones do have flight logs. And so if it would not log, there's going to be documentation of why. So unless they're able to delete a flight log or create a random flight log, there's a reason there. Let's see what we got here. Okay, as follows, Kamala. Yeah. Mel, I don't think Mel likes her. I really don't. I really don't think they do. And, at least they'll have good evidence at the murder trial. Yeah. I mean, well, they're not charging the homeowner on this one. And, the neighbors were all saying that they've had, transients, drugs. One woman they interviewed was talking about how she's had to chase homeless men out of her front bushes who were sleeping there and shooting up with drugs. And she's finding needles in her front yard routinely. She has to, before she can let her kids outside, just to go police the yard for needles. But hey, go buy a camera system for Costco. Yeah, that's the best option they've got. And from another bastion of liberal lunacy, we have this one from Seattle. And I thought this one was great. This is from the 19th of July. It's actually a little bit old, but okay, it's still kind of fun. A shop owner who was staying overnight in his shop because of the chronic crime was approached by a knife-wielding burglar. Now, the knife-wielding burglar, and again, we think of this here, knife-wielding burglar in Seattle, and, well, the shop owner sort of took care of that issue. So, I believe the burglar did survive. However, he is now in custody. So, again, here's a shop owner who is having to sleep in his business to protect it. The burglar fled after being shot and was tracked down by his blood trail and has subsequently been arrested. Folks, one more time, they can't keep doing this. It doesn't make sense. But unfortunately, this is what we're getting out of so many of these liberal states. You see this, California, Seattle. I had another clip here out of Seattle that I wanted to share with y'all. Figured you might like it. Let me see here. Let's see. Where's our Seattle clip? This one comes to us from Seattle PD body cam. And let's see here. It was definitely a rather interesting choice, so to speak. Can't get it to play. All right, we may have to save that for the next time. But yeah, Seattle PD has had all sorts of fun with these issues. So it is what it is. Next one I've got for our good guys and gals with guns, and this one's really interesting. This one comes to us from Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, none other than Chicago, that toddling town that had over 100 people shot over the 4th of July weekend. Well, on July 21st, a suspect violated an order of protection. What do we tell you, ladies? It's just a piece of paper. It's a good start, but don't rely on it to end everything. He unlawfully entered his ex-girlfriend's apartment. He then proceeded to jump on and attack a male guest who was in the apartment. The male guest happens to be a legal concealed carry holder who was able to access his weapon, fire one shot, killing the intruder. So now we're going to go through. He violates the order of protection, breaks in the apartment, and attacks someone. Great. A good guy with a gun is the only thing stopping him. That judge's court order means nothing. And that's one reason why, y'all know where I stand with Carrie and her organization, We the Female. I support them 100% because you know what? It is, court order is just a piece of paper. And if that individual on the other side doesn't respect it, it's not going to work out real well. Now, this last one is my favorite. And this one comes to us from Oakland, Michigan. Now, if you don't know, Michigan, they've been sort of a good source of information recently, good source of stuff to play, because, well, Michigan is home to none other than wretched Gretchen Whitmer, the one who helped try to stage her own kidnapping and now has a bunch of guys in jail for it. Yeah, not a big fan of wretched Gretchen. But I remember back when she bragged in February about the wonderful new red flag stuff they have. It would deal with gun violence. Well, let's see what happened in Oakland, Michigan on July 17th. A man broke into his ex-girlfriend's home using an axe. Yeah, I've heard of BYOB, but this guy BYO axe. He breaks into the house using an axe. The woman and her stepson retreat to the upstairs bedroom. They barricade the bedroom door. The suspect begins firing through the bedroom door. The woman takes refuge in the bathtub in the bathroom. The stepson hides in a corner. The suspect finally breaks through that door, points the gun at the stepson, and said, "I'm just here for her." Then he turned and moved toward the woman, at which point the stepson fired one shot from his legal carry weapon, killing the intruder. So it had a happy ending. Yeah, don't like to see anyone get their birth certificate revoked, but this guy, I think, kind of had it coming. He broke into a house with an axe. Now, the backstory is where it gets better. This gentleman was 67 years old. He was breaking into his ex-girlfriend's house. They had been together on and off for, I believe, 7 years. Prior to that, he had an ex-wife. They had protection orders out for the ex-wife and the girlfriend. He had ERPO, extreme risk protection orders, red flag orders out, and had already had 2 firearms previously confiscated and was a prohibited possessor under Michigan's red flag law that Gretchen said would solve everything. But he had a gun. Wait a minute, didn't he know? Didn't they tell him when they served him with all this paperwork, all these reasons why he's a prohibited possessor, like a stack of reasons? They're not telling him he couldn't just go out and buy another one? Now, he legally could not buy one from any dealer, but probably went to Pookie or Ray Ray or Bam Bam down on the corner. Who knows? And yeah. And then it turns out they did a little more checking. He had gone into the ex-wife's house and stolen her firearm that she had gotten to protect from him, to go kill the ex-girlfriend. You know, when you steal your ex-wife's gun to go kill your ex-girlfriend and you're on multiple risk orders and everything else, well, what's the matter, Gretchen? Gun control didn't work. And this is textbook. The only thing that stopped a bad guy with a gun or an axe who's hell-bent on killing, maiming, or doing great bodily damage to someone was the stepson with the gun. Had the stepson not been over visiting mom, how much worse do you think this story would have worked out? Remember, he openly said he's just there for her. If he's just there for her, what's he want to do to her? Yeah, I don't think we want to go there. So again, it's just every law they pass, every rule you come up with, the bad guy will come up with a way to violate it, work around it, or deal with it at some level. And, you know, and this last one, well, it's a little bit sad and it's kind of a black pill, but at least, you know, doesn't end up in a fatal. This one's out of North Carolina on the 23rd of July. A woman shot her 41-year-old adult son. Law enforcement responded and found the 41-year-old son with multiple gunshot wounds to his legs. Son apparently has an extensive history of mental illness. He refuses to take his meds. He had repeatedly threatened to kill her and then attacked her with a large knife. At the point when he was brandishing the large knife, threatening to kill her, this woman had to open fire on her own child. Now, she did only wound him. He is likely to survive. I don't know whether he'll stand trial given the mental illness aspect of it or anything like that. But the sheriff said, you know, I can't fault this woman because at that moment, she had somebody who was completely out of control in her home with a kitchen knife threatening to kill her. The fact that it was her child doesn't really change the outcome. and the family and the community was really being very supportive of her. And it's sad to think that she'd have to shoot her own son, but on the other side of that coin, how much worse could this have come through? Number one. But even, I'm going to go to number two. The son couldn't get a gun, so a kitchen knife was okay. The idiot in our story before this, he had a gun, but he had an axe too. Anytime, and again, that's one reason why I talk about this. You hear all these stories, and I can rattle them off, and these are all from within the last week or so. But guess what? Every single one of them says you've got to be able to protect yourself, because what? 30 minutes later, the police still aren't out there, and now there's a guy breaking in the back of multiple houses. So now again, we sort of look at that. And we want to touch one more thing as far as the heads up on the Trump shooting here. See if I can find this. Yeah, there it is.
Did you see that guy who tried to assassinate Donald Trump this afternoon? He looks like a dork, a wimpy little loser who probably hates America. His name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. Anyways, he's a dead guy now. We'll remember our dearly departed Thomas by his incompetence with a firearm. He was 100 feet from the Donald with an AR-15, but he could only hit his ear. You know, I think Thomas studied at the Helen Keller Institute of Marksmanship. I'll give him an A for effort, but he gets an F for execution. In all seriousness, I know a thing or two about assassination attempts. John Hinckley tried to take me out in 1981. He was a loser too, but he did more damage to me with a .22 caliber pea shooter than this inept dimwit. I went to the emergency room, but they fixed me up. When I got out, I won the Cold War and turned America into the sole superpower on Earth. Anyways, Thomas' parents are probably very embarrassed by their now dead moron son. Good night, and God bless America.
Yeah, I just like saying that when I get a laugh out of that. Folks, what do y'all have tonight? Anyone have any interesting stories? Anything else you'd like to see me dig in and cover and go into? Let's see here. What do we have in the chat? Soros money at work. Are you referring to all the DAs who just keep letting them back out the door? Or, yeah, I don't know. It could be a good question. And Mel says, with the videotape, yeah, at least we'll be able to get the homeowner's murder on tape. Yeah. When you sit here and you watch all the neighbors talking about, oh, I'm finding transient people in my bushes. I'm having to go out and check my yard for needles. I've had to chase people out of my bushes. This guy's tearing up the picket fence, ripping fence posts out and swinging them and hitting things. Could you live in that environment? How long could a normal person live in that environment before it just gets to be like too long, too old? How long until it's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't make this work. You know, let's see here. I'm going to try one more time if I can get that clip to play, because it was a really good one. I liked that one. It was out of Seattle, and it was absolutely, it showed where we're at, and it showed again where gun control has just been an epic failure. So from that standpoint, you know, I get a laugh out of it. And as many of you know, if you follow anything about Washington gun laws, or, you know, Seattle, the great state of Washington, have a lot of restrictions on, you know, owning and carrying firearms and everything else, because, well, you know, guns are scary. Yeah. And this gives you an idea of how well this gun control works in Washington, because it kind of makes you wonder whether we're all losing our mind. Let's see here, trying to get this pulled. Yeah. Yeah. Gruesome Newsom says you're welcome. Yeah. It's the truth. It really is. How we can let all this happen. And again, I'm not down or black-pilled on America. I am blackpilled on our blue cities. I really am. I watch so much and I see so much, and it's like, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Washington was at one point, Jacob, a very gun friendly state. I actually had a friend of mine move to Washington probably about 8 years ago now, 9 years ago. And she thought it was wonderful. She loved it. Now, she wasn't right in the city part of it in Seattle or SeaTac area or anything, but she was out in a fairly rural area, and she thought it was wonderful and beautiful and everything else. And I think the area she was in is now probably, I don't know, is that part of this part of Washington trying to move out and move in with Iowa? Are we divorcing Washington now? I'm not quite sure about that, but it kind of makes me wonder. Let's see. I think we've got that clip to work. Yeah. Here is our latest out of Washington. We'll see how that came out. Folks, bear with me a little bit. I'm kind of new to the Rumble Studio some nights.
Three suspects, get down.
Hands up! On ground! On ground! That's not it. Okay, we'll sort it out. So listen. Okay, put your hands on your back. Hands on your back. The other hand right there.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, there you go. That's not me. Okay, leave it right there. You got gloves? Okay, I guess too much. Yeah. Okay, I guess too much. I didn't. I just got.
I don't want to hear it.
Now, if you know anything about Seattle, they've got all kinds of magazine limits. Every one of those was above and beyond any magazine they should have. But yeah, there you go. So definitely kind of blows my mind. It is what it is. But yeah, there's gun control for you. How's it working? It's not. The bad guys can and will get anything they want, anytime they want. And, we either can just accept it or know it, or I don't know. It's sad to see. And again, what we got here? Let's see what Jacob say. It looks like Trump is going to this off. We should offer the left a plea deal. National divorce by country, everyone wins. I'll tell you something. I could deal with some of the stuff with the national divorce. I hate to say it, but Greater Idaho Plan, that was it, has been voted on, apparently approved by most Oregon counties. Yeah. And basically, there's several counties that don't want to be in Oregon anymore. They don't want to be in Portland. They don't want to be, well, Seattle was the home of the Chaz. Yeah. Wasn't it Seattle? The Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Yeah. And we're turning into, craziness. Fortunately, I'm down here in South Carolina, relatively safe, but at least our politicians are letting us defend ourselves. I'm not going to say we don't have crime or we can't have crime or anything else, but at least I'm on somewhat of an even playing field, as opposed to, again, you look at those kids with those, Glocks with the extended mags and all that stuff. I promise you, they're not local NRA members. I promise you, they're not, just going out to do a little target shooting with their friends. I promise you, they're probably not even NHGR members, truth be told. But hey, they're going to, keep going with all this stuff. And I guess you say it gets worse and worse or better and better every time we turn around. And, we turn around now and we see gun violence in the streets that's just random. So from that standpoint, something's kind of got to give, but I'm not sure what it will be, how it will be, but you can always, count on, the powers that be on the left side of the aisle to mess things up a little bit, and it seems like they've done a really good job of messing things up. All righty, well, I will leave you with this. Folks, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Please be smart, be safe. Tonight is Thursday night. I'll be working this weekend, so I may well be back on, next Tuesday or so with another live show. We'll see what comes out. We'll see what's new about Secret Service. We'll see what anything has come in. If you have any intel or stuff you want to pass along to me, I definitely do appreciate it. Mel is a wonderful, wonderful passer alonger of stuff. If you want more information on anything, you can check out this. And y'all have a wonderful night. Bye.